Do parent conferences sort of send you into a tizzy, full of stress, worry, anxiety? Yeah, that was me at the beginning of my teaching career. Give me all the students, I will teach all day long, no problem. But dealing with their parents and communicating things to their parents stressed me out. And looking back, I think a lot of it was sort of just the unknown about what was to come and what they were going to ask me, how I was going to present. Was I going to tell them enough? Was I going to tell them too little? Was I going to talk too fast or maybe too slow, or just what was happening? And it stressed me out. And I know that I can't be alone in that feeling. And over the years, I sort of found my groove and a way to talk to parents and to run conferences that served both them, the student, and me without it being just this feeling of pure chaos leading up to them. So today I'm here to share how you can avoid those stressed feelings and present in a professional and organized way and communicate effectively with families. So, very first thing, well, first you're going to set up your conference times, and that's probably run by your school. It really depends on how they schedule you. You'll get everybody scheduled. When you schedule these conferences, send home like a little reminder notice, something like this, and a questionnaire about what they would like to chat about at conferences. This never occurred to me at the beginning. And then I would just sit there on pins and needles and hope that nobody wanted to talk about something that I wasn't prepared to talk about at conferences, because you never know what they're going to say or what they're going to bring to you. So it's nice if not everybody will fill it out, and that's okay. But it's nice if you send home this little questionnaire. I use something sort of like this. You could use it more simple. You could just say, what are some goals you have for your child? What are some concerns you have? Anything else you'd like to discuss? Just like 3 little questions. But sending home something to ask them what they'd like to talk about is a great way to break the ice. And also then you have it in your file, in your folder. You're going to make a folder. You'll have it in your folder to pull out and reference and help you prepare for conferences so you're not flying in blind. Now, will other things come up? Yes. Here's my best tip. What if they ask you a question you're not prepared for? That's a great question, is what you tell them. I will check on that and get back to you. And jot a note. I always kept a little notepad beside my conference table. Jot a little note so that you don't forget to follow up. Because if you say you're going to do it, you need to do it. But that's a great question. I don't have the answer for that right now. Let me check on that and get back to you. It's okay to not know the answer. You don't have to have all the answers. You can say, that's a great question. Let's go from here. Okay, so sending home the questionnaire and knowing how to deal with those questions. Check, check. Right? Now, how are you going to prepare and be professional for conferences? You're going to create a conference folder of some kind for each student. I use something like this, and it was real simple. I will drop a link to a blog post where you can find that freebie down below. But this way I could pull out a file folder, and I actually used pocket folders usually for each student, and I could send it home with the parents. I pulled out any originals that I needed to keep, put it in the student file, and sent home the file with families. So they had a Glow and Grow conference sheet. I'll share that in just a second. Anything I wanted to share in there with them from other teachers or other reports that I needed to go over with parents. Some years we had DIBELS or Acadience scores that I needed to review. Some years the reading specialist had something that they wanted me to touch base on, or the special ed teacher if she couldn't be there, those kinds of things. Everything goes in one folder so I can pull it out. It's all organized and professional, so I'm not digging through, oh, you wanted to know about that, and I'm like looking for all the things. No. Everything I need to talk about with that child is in their folder. I pull out their folder and it's ready to go. If they don't come to conferences, I put it at the bottom, and I can either try to reschedule or send this home on the next school day and say, hey, so sorry you missed your conference. Here's all the information I wanted to chat about. If there's any questions, let me know. But it's all there so you are prepared. Game changer. I used to have like a stack of my reports here in order of my conferences, and then I'd have to pull work samples from over here. What was I thinking? If I had all my work samples and everything in one folder, it was all ready to go, and I didn't have to keep going through things. It just, when you're organized in such a way that there's a pile here, a pile here, a pile there, and you're pulling for each conference, it sort of sends the I'm not prepared message. But when I just have to pull out a folder and everything's in there, it sends the I am ready, I am professional, I am organized message. Okay, earlier I mentioned using a Glow and Grow conference form. That looks something like this, and we'll use this one as our example to walk through. But using a Glow and Grow form allows you to celebrate successes that the student is having. Even your most challenging students have successes, I promise. You might have to look a little harder, but they're there. And then address any concerns or things you're working with a Grow. And this is just an opportunity to improve, not something they're necessarily doing wrong, just an area of growth, an area for growth. And then some ideas of what to work on at home. So I would create one of these forms for each of my students. And even if you have to include other forms, like maybe you have like some assessment forms that you also include, I like to just sort of summarize it here on this Glow and Grow form so that parents can see everything at a glance, and it'll just take us through the conference in sort of a systematic, if you will, way, in an organized way. So here we have Susie Q as our example, and I always like to start with something positive about the student themselves. Are they kind? Are they helpful? Are they funny? Are they thoughtful? What are some things that you can describe, positive ways you can describe the students? So here Susie is kind and helpful student. You might share about ways she helps around the classroom, how she helps her peers, if she is helpful to you, if she's dependable, those kind of things. She's a hard worker. She's always trying her best, even on things that are more challenging for her. She knows all her letter sounds. She's identifying numbers to 10, and that's as far as we've assessed to this point. So she's ready. She participates in class. She's always with me. She is a great student. So some of the things that we are working on right now with Susie are her fine motor and handwriting. We've tried a new pencil gripper. I've seen some success with that. What kinds of things are you noticing about fine motor challenges at home? And it opens that conversation. And then what to work on at home, you've got your fine motor skills, next steps for her reading, whatever that is, next steps for math, whatever that might be. And in this case, when I had kids with fine motor, that was a common thing in kindergarten. So that's why this is the example here. I would pull out one of my parent handouts that looks something like this, and I'd make sure that was in this student's folder to send home along with their conference form, because then it gives them practical ways to go practice those fine motor skills at home. You know, moving Cheerios with tweezers, or playing with Play-Doh helps fine motor, and just some practical ways that they can help build and strengthen her fingers and hands to build fine motor skills. That way, it was all ready to go. I had a fine motor paper like that. I had a reading skills paper, some math. So if they were having challenges in these areas, I could grab them, and I was ready to send them home at a moment's notice on conference time. It's great to have practical ways for parents to help at home. So we would go through Susie's Glow and Grow form and any other forms that I had to share with parents, and then I would make sure I addressed any questions they might have, and then we were done. All right. So we talked about sending home that questionnaire. We talked about conference forms to use, scheduling everything. One of the other great ways to break the ice is having students do a self-assessment. I like to do just a little half page, something like this, where they rated themselves. I'm really good at that. I do that sometimes, or yikes, that is not something I'm very good at, or that's something I'm working on in the classroom. Sometimes it was nice to start with that even before the Glow and Grow forms, because it's interesting to see what kids think about themselves. And one of the questions I always include on my self-assessment, always without fail, is, do you like school? Because in kindergarten, they should like coming to school. Now, not every kid will, and there are going to be exceptions to this for various reasons. Sometimes they'd rather be at home with mom and dad. Sometimes they'd rather just be playing with their toys, right? But generally speaking, in kindergarten, school should be a fun place to come. It's kindergarten. They have 12 more years of formal education to get through before college. And if they don't like it now, can you imagine how torturous that's going to be for mom and dad and student for the rest of this educational career? We've got to make sure they like kindergarten. So that's one of the things that's on there as well. And I send that home with mom and dad. It's usually cute, and sometimes like kids who maybe aren't perfect in all the things, just circle all the perfects, and that gives you some time to talk about maybe a little self-awareness, or we're not wanting to take accountability for our behavior or our actions and things like that. It's a nice way to break the ice and address behaviors that maybe otherwise would be difficult to address. You can say like, yeah, I really do agree with Susie Q. She is always, participating in class. Or, Susie really could be working a little harder on keeping quiet and raising her hand until she's called on, kind of thing. That way, it gives you just an open dialogue with parents. So the self-assessment is another thing that changed conferences for me. Then a couple of other things you can do to make conferences just more welcoming and inviting. Have like a bowl of mints and a cute little sign, something like this. I like to have mints around because just for myself and my own breath, I like to have them available, and it's just a nice way to welcome parents. I like to put a sign on the door that said, if I'm more than 5 minutes late or however many minutes you deem appropriate, please knock. To get us back on track. Sometimes we do get off track and we start talking, and you lose track of time, kind of thing, to help everything run smoothly. The other thing I want to mention about conferences is sometimes there are contentious parents or contentious situations, and you don't have to do those by yourself. If you know a parent is upset or agitated, or a parent is coming with the divorced spouse and you think it might get heated, please have another adult in the room with you, whether that be your school guidance counselor, your administrator, another teacher who works with that student, even just the gym teacher. They have to get their conference hours into, at least where I worked, they did. Having another person there in a contentious situation is important to protect yourself. So please don't feel like you have to do it by yourself. It doesn't make you big and brave. You need to protect yourself. So if somebody is upset or you sense that it could be that way, have not backup, but have another person there who can say, no, Mrs. Murray didn't say that at conferences. I was there and this is what happened. So that it's not a he said, she said battle later. All right. Hopefully that helps you to prepare for your best conferences yet. If you'd like to use the forms that I use, I do have editable versions down in our website shop and on TPT. You can grab those links below and get started using them today. And like I said, there's tons of blog posts about conferences on my blog, because once I figured out that they didn't have to be super stressful and it actually could be something you enjoy doing, I wanted to tell everybody else how to do it too. So there's links down there and to the free cover for the folder. It's all there. If you'd like to get in touch with me, here's how to do it. While you're grabbing links below, please don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our upcoming videos. All right, happy conferencing. Until next time, have an exceptional